diagram up there, covalent. That's such an amazing concept from chemistry, but look at those electrons. Do they belong to the O or to the C? We don't know. And actually your team has had that because you've had a nice covalent arrangement with Team 1310 and 9262. There's been some sharing of resources.
Yeah.
And we see that in different areas where we're able to share. Maybe there's ways that we can use that to also network and build
Yeah,
up.
that would be great to know about that.
Yeah.
How to merge.
Yeah. So really, really.
In covalent bonds.
Yes, exactly. They're strong. Yes. So I think maybe we're talking about build space and teams operating in schools, and then also the idea of getting mentors. Like that's some of the theme that we're pulling out from our introductions, and we can add some other sort of stories and anecdotes from that. So we have a few case studies then. A team has no build space. So maybe I could just start with a story from London last year. I had some in London that you mentioned, things like that. We had 2 community teams last year with no build space. They were anticipating a similar solution that you had been highlighting. Actually, 2 rookie teams have built in my basement over the last 5 years, and my wife is barely tolerating that kind of arrangement.
Everybody gets a turn.
Yeah.
Your house isn't really set up for it.
No, but
Carpet is
I
not good.
refuse to not have a rookie team having a place to build, and so. But I was thinking that's not really sustainable, being in my basement. It's just at the end of the season, you really want them to compete. It's either they don't compete at all, or you just do something a little more difficult.
Yeah.
So this year, I could see that coming a few months ahead, and a few friends and I were in discussions about this. They're not FRC people. They were interested in community building from the point of view of STEM opportunities and computer science and biology, and just generally promoting science and technology, like FIRST is all about. In September last year, we created a not-for-profit on paper and we registered it. It's called a collaboratory, and it's at that point there was no physical space to it, and we were able to just envision a place where many students could come and learn various things, not just robotics. And then shortly after that, discussions with these 2 teams. One is a rookie team and one is a multi-year team. They led to the point where, well, we really need to find a space. And many, many conversations had to happen. Like a lot of this, in chemistry, the electrons are going everywhere. And if we want to do community building, we also have to be like electrons and be out there networking and putting the energy into the system. And so we were doing this in London, just having lots of conversations about how do we house these teams. A few conversations came up with my old school. At the time in August or September, they were not really sure what to do with their own space. However, one thing led to another, and the vision came that we could rent a room in the school, 600 square feet, 20 by 30, and we could pay a reasonable amount per month to do that. And the idea was that if one FRC team took that over, that's kind of expensive, $1,000 a month. But if 2 or more or 3 or 4 groups took it over, then each could contribute a little bit, and that's how we managed to provide the build space. So each team paid $300 a month for 4 months. And then we had a March break camp and some other activities, and we were able to finance the place. And that was a very low effort kind of thing, but a high return. With a little bit more effort, I think we can make it financially sustainable over a year, and that's what we're looking at with the collaboratory. So Team 10554 and Team 11362, 2 relatively new teams from London area, built their robots on my old school. And there was a lot of benefit from the community that was happening there. By locating in the building where another FRC team was already operating, my old team, 6162, survived yet another year miraculously. And their students were building and sharing tools with us, and we were sending mentors down to their room. They were sending tools up to our room, and we used their bandsaw and their drill press when necessary, and everything was really, really great for those 3 teams. We also housed the quick build session, and 2 other teams were able to participate in the quick build. And then also Team 7058 from Strathroy came in over the March break, and we did a day of troubleshooting their robot and got it ready to go for the competition. So there were a lot of benefits that arose sort of as a side effect of just making the space available. And I just think, I know that a few teams in Oakville here, they rent out their entire space themselves, but I've heard the actual cost of doing that is really remarkably high and not something that's accessible to just any group of people. And we've worked with some really marginal groups, you know, that truly some of the groups we've worked with are extremely marginal.
Yeah.
And
They all deserve a chance,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and so paying thousands of dollars a month for a space is not just something that any team can contemplate. So it might be interesting to hear some stories and anecdotes from around what you've encountered. I have a few more that I could share, but maybe just pausing there, what does that concept sound like if we were to imagine a common space? It could be in a high school, or it could be in a community, like a private or a public school. If there are arrangements like this all through the province and benefiting from different situations and circumstances. So maybe I start with 2702 as you're now contemplating a build space.
So the story there is that last year in December, there was essentially a vehicle drove through the building where we built it. And it took, we were like, well, when do we think we'll be able to get back in there? The first date, the estimate was the 16th of January. So we're like, okay, we'll lose the first week or 2 of build season, but we can, that's mostly CAD, we can do that maybe remotely or meet somewhere else. But then that kept getting pushed back and back and back, and the repairs are still not done at this, today. So,
Wow.
we didn't know where we were going to meet. We started kind of like mid-December when it was clear that we weren't going to get back in there. We started reaching out and trying to brainstorm on where we could meet. And then like a couple days before the actual build season, we ended up finding a space. We reached out to some of the other local teams. One of the local teams had a mentor who has a kind of, is a business and it's got some warehousing in it, and the back corner was available. And he had hosted his team in there during one of the pandemic years when they didn't have access to the school for building. So he had hosted a team in there before. He was like, yeah, we can host you until your build space is ready, which we were hoping, like always hopeful it would happen during the season. And you know, we ran our entire season out of that build space. But not wanting to, we also kind of had the goal of get out to the practice field as quickly as we can. Because all the local teams, we kind of pool our resources, we each pay a little bit, yes, to rent a space. And every year, it's an effort to try and find a practice space. And the way we end up typically finding these practice field spaces is we ask commercial spaces that don't currently have a tenant and are looking to just get like something in there while they find an actual proper tenant. So they'll lease us the space for the build season at some, like basically at cost to them, I suppose. But that still ends up being quite expensive. Like, I don't know how much it was this year, but it was on the order of $3,000 to $4,000, which ends up being like, $500 per team, which in our region is still quite pricey for a lot of the teams, because there is such a high concentration of teams in the Waterloo region. Everyone's competing for sponsors, and there's only so many funds to go around. So if everyone was trying to find a practice field space or put up a practice field, that would be unsustainable. So we work together to, put up a full practice field.
Interesting, as you're mentioning, WW First is probably the largest scale collaboration, formal collaboration of teams that I know of in the province. Maybe there's others that I don't know of. And you have like 6 to 8 teams in a given year. And I'm wondering, it'd be interesting to hear your perspective. There is this idea of limited funds.
Yeah.
Because the economy is not great and maybe sponsors are not always so willing to support. And yet, I'm wondering, how do you do it in a relatively small footprint, which is Kitchener-Waterloo area, and so many teams? How do you coordinate your sponsorship?
Yes, so we have a master sheet. We have an Excel document where people fill in the current sponsors they've had, and the sponsors they're looking to go after, so that we don't have multiple people asking the same company. Because in the past, many, many years ago, we ran into an issue where one team was asking a company for money, and then another team came in, and then the company was like, why are we getting asked for multiple pockets of money? And then they just shut it all down. So, coordinating with the local teams and not going after sponsors, the same ones, is really, really important. And then we're also, as the Waterloo First organization, looking to try and find some big title sponsors for the organization that will hopefully someday cover all of our practice field expenses and then trickle down into teams.
That would be so great.
That would be ideal.
We need another Blackberry database.
Yes, yes. And the Waterloo Mountain First came about because of the issue of sponsorship, not wanting to run into that issue. So it's like, okay, we need to